Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf, the podcast. A serial killer drama.
Got a black magic woman. Got a black magic woman.
Hello, and welcome back to Werewolf the Podcast. We are on part 7 of the Vampire vs. Werewolf trilogy. Yeah, I know. Check out the descriptor below for loads of links to loads of different things, including a Facebook group, a Twitter handle, a book, and something else that I can't remember, but hey. Let's carry on with the story. Hopefully you've listened to the other episodes, otherwise then this won't make too much sense, but I always say that, so please go listen to the other episodes of the vampire bit at least. So I have her here and now. Yeah, I know, it's incredible to think that down in my little workspace is one of the queens of the vampire nation. I have her, and no one knows I have her and what I'm doing with her. Do you have any idea who this crazy bitch is? Do you? Go on, make a guess. You might be right. Huh? No. Not Mrs. Vlad? No, sorry. Nah. No, not her. It's better than that. I only went and got Semiramis, also known as Ishtar or Inanna. Can you believe it? Oh. You've no fucking idea who she is then. Well, these days, she uses either the name Semiramis or Semiramis, as she and I are on such good terms, and knowing it pisses off her wholly, I call her Sammy. My little Sammy. I say it so condescendingly and can get her angrier than actually torturing her just by teasing her ego that is way bigger than mine. Again, when we get into more detail about who she is, or let's say was, it makes sense that she has this kind of ego. Sammy, it turns out, was one of the ancient past's most famous and infamous rulers. The historians really know very little about her, but I have been using Malcolm, my ego-like servant, to get her story, and it's pretty interesting, to be honest. We must keep her drugged and kept safe so she cannot put her glamour on him and ruin everything. I do not want to lose her just yet, to be perfectly honest, and losing Malcolm would be an absolute fucking pain in the ass. He is invaluable. The long and short of it is, Sammy ended up murdering her bloke, who was the king of Assyria at the time. I think she'd been in charge for a while, but she then came to a fore. She had married the new king so she could take over from him or run things as his wife. Apparently he was a bit of a waste of space as a king, the perfect thing for a powerful woman to work with in that day and age when women couldn't rise to powerful positions. They had a son together. Well, that's what she told him anyways. She actually had the kid with her brother. Yeah, that would make a lot more sense if you listen to the other episodes harping on about vampires. When the king died, she became Assyria's regent for 5 years. That is what historians think anyway. Well, apart from shagging her brother bit, but that had to be said. I mean, the historians didn't know about her shagging her brother. Only I knew about her shagging her brother. Incest seems a little extreme, but I don't judge the wants of two consenting vampires. The Greeks had found her story utterly entrancing because she had been a queen when women were not allowed to rule. That's right. She was a woman in charge, which flipped the Greeks out so that they fetishized her to a great degree. Even though Greece was a meritocracy, I bet many a powerful man would have liked to have been bossed about by our Sammy. As far as history is concerned, what she did was actually lead the country in her son's name for 5 years. She was the power behind the potty, as it were. The Greeks changed her name to Semiramis. Now, historians think that they changed her life into that of a myth. I believe that she did a lot more shit than the Greeks actually noticed or mythicized, if that's a word. I think it will be a fantastic story when I get all of it. Sammy is a serious bitch and was named the Wise Queen, although if you upset her, you weren't that smart. She was the wife of a shit king called Shamsi-Adda V, who ruled from 824 to 810 BCE. Her husband's reign was weak and unstable because of a rebellion 2 years before becoming king. As you can guess, the Queen Lady had none of that shit, so she stabilised the place in a pretty bloody and wonderful way. In 826 BCE, King Shamsi-Adda V's older brother Ashur-danin-pal launched a rebellion against his father. You know what it's like over a family dinner at mum and dad's. You all fall out, so you want to murder the other family members so you can take over the country. We've all been there. It took Shamsi 6 years to defeat the rebellion led by his brother when he and his brother had taken it outside into the proverbial lawn of the palace and fucking sorted it out. Shamsi, I hope that's right, Shamsi, ascended the throne with his wife behind him, literally behind him, probably holding something very sharp to his back. He had nothing in riches and stuff. He'd spent all his cash on Amazon, buying soldiers and weapons for his war. That meant that the country was up shit creek financially, and the population were only just holding it together. They were on the edge of starvation and rising up to rebel once more. You can imagine that Sammy was properly pissed at her crap husband. I wonder if she'd put it out to him. I bet not. It had only been with her help that they had managed to save the country at all, so she decided to take things into her own hands. Her son was named Adadandinari, the future king Adadandinari III, and she ran his motherfucking life with her advisor, who just happened to be Sammy's brother and the kid's actual dad. Not much of a shock, that. The vampire twins were in control, but to be honest, I think she was the brains and the driver behind all that went on at that time. When King Shamsi-Adda V died in 811 BCE under somewhat mysterious circumstances, I don't think they were too mysterious. Sammy didn't need him anymore, so I'm confident that she just did away with him on the quiet. She wasn't impressed with him anyways, so once he'd served his purpose, it made sense to bin him. He was there one day, and then not the next, and no one in the country really noticed. Semiramis assumed her son's regency. The kid was King Adadandinari III. She had to step up because he was too young to rule. Good that, huh? She could not be the queen, but she was the queen. This may be because she had considerable influence in the Assyrian court due to the fact that they lived in fear of her losing her shit at them. Thus, in a time when women didn't have positions of power and a female couldn't rule, Semiramis proved to be a wise, capable, bloodthirsty and terrifying ruler. As the regent of the Assyrian Empire, she did what her husband could not do. She was able to stabilize the nation, killing anyone who said anything negative about her son. From Sammy's point of view, the great thing was that everyone saw the kid as an evil, blood-drinking monster. They blamed all the country's woes on him. She was only a pathetic woman. Only a pathetic woman. Semiramis' accomplishments during her regency are primarily unknown to historians because there's little literary material that has survived. She tells us everything. I mean, me and, Malcolm. I hope that the stories are true. What she got up to is incredible. I will release her stories as books when we get around to them. The historians tell us she initiated some building projects and that Sammy was at the head of her armies. She has not gotten into how she became a vampire with us yet, but she would only send her troops to fight at night. That might make you aware of what she was at this point already. The idea in her enemy's eyes was that she was this creature of the night, and it turns out she fucking was. She succeeded in several military campaigns. She defeated the Medes, a group of ancient Iranians, and annexed their nation. A fucking woman did that. A fucking woman. Strong female lead. She was leading her armies herself. She was at the head of the soldiers, the first person into the fray, dealing death left and right. She was famous for murdering all captured soldiers in gruesome and horrific ways. She thought leaving any enemy alive was a mistake that may be paid for later. The manner in which she murdered the captured meant that the many enemies would never actually fight her again, and many enemies would never actually fight her in reality. They would just give up. She also conquered the Armenians. Do you know how tough and nuts Armenians are? They frighten me in this civilized day and age. She took over their country without much effort when they still smashed each other with sharp things. She was also noted as an excellent administrator. We all know that vampires are OCD and anal, so this would be a pretty obvious thing for her. Thus, through Samarat's abilities, her empire was strengthened. Her successes were apparent even if we didn't follow the myths. She was the regent for 5 years, but was the power behind the throne for many more. Sami, as a woman, had a memorial stela placed in the city of Ashur. As a woman, it's been carved with the following: Stele of Semiramis, Queen of Shamshi-Adad, King of the Universe, King of Assyria, Mother of Adinadinari, King of the Universe, King of Assyria, Daughter-in-law of Shalmaneser, King of the 4 regions of the world. This is the best a woman will ever get from these people. There's not much equality or equanimity back in those days for women. Another better hid description of her on stone tells the world that she was regent for 5 years, but the Queen of Eternity. Whatever that shit means. The reality was that Semiramis became a larger-than-life figure sometime during her reign, becoming idolized and worshipped as a goddess. Her legend has become mythologized, so it's hard for historians to know her actual history. Having spoken to her, we have found out a lot of the mythological story, and it has a lot of basis in truth. She makes it much more romantic than her actual history. She is and was worshipped as a deity. Historians have identified that deity as Ishtar. This puts her another 3,500 years in the past, as Inanna in Sumeria. That's 3,000 years before she was Queen of God. The precursor goddess to Ishtar, who was worshipped in Assyria. These goddesses were associated with love, beauty, sex, war, justice, and political power. Yeah, we can see where that comes from. In her mythological story, Sami was the daughter of a Syrian goddess and a young Assyrian man. When she was exposed by birth, the doves fed and cared for her until shepherds found her. All a bit sort of nice for a bloodthirsty fiend, but baddies are often weirdly, given a nice backstory. She then married King Ninus, the alleged builder of Babylon. This again throws her out of a timeline for a normal human. If everything that happened to her happened, it must have occurred over many lifetimes. When King Ninus died, she became the sole ruler of the Assyrian Empire. So she has been behind the scenes for person years, seemingly controlling shit. She only really became apparent when threatened with the shit ruler King Shamshi-Adad. According to the myths, which I assume now as the truth, she irrigated Babylon, expanded her territories, and led campaigns as far as India. I believe she did much of the irrigating in blood myself. She is an evil bitch. She ruled for 42 years until her son overthrew her. When she died, she transformed into the shape of a dove or a bat and became a goddess. We have not got to the story of the overthrow yet, but I'm waiting. Diodorus of Sicily calls Semiramis the most renowned woman of whom we have any record. Semiramis was a queen who had become a popular icon for millennia. She has been mentioned in the Bible, worshipped as a goddess, and was the basis of an opera. Nice. The most surprising aspect of her story is that she achieved a position of power and authority which was unthinkable at the time for a woman. So that is who I have in the basement. I have the goddess of Sumeria in the fecking cellar. How amazing is that? Let us take this further now. I have a captured vampire that is in the basement of my home that I can now go and play with. Come on, let's go do it.
Brought to you in association with Grendel Press. This is Werewolf, the podcast, a serial killer drama.